So here we are running into the underground crypto Moonbase research laboratory. Trust versus incentive. And so this is what a lot of this is all based off. Also, if you missed last week, series was all about value and where value comes from. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that one. I'm learning a ton just doing this every day. Things that I thought I knew, I'm just learning even more about it. It's like education never really stops. Anyways, let's talk about the difference between trust and incentive. Traditional systems rely on trusted authorities to enforce rule. Blockchain replaces trust with incentive, economic mechanisms that encourage honest participants. Incentives align behaviors with system integrity. Chat's moving, says, I know, Blue, it's crazy, isn't it? Validators have economic stake, right? They have a stake in the system. Validators commit resources or capital or both to participate in a proof of stake system. And they're using proof of stake as an example. Obviously, you could slightly alter these notes to apply more to like a specific proof of work or proof of liquidity or useful liquidity. Validators lock tokens that can be penalized if they behave dishonestly. So they kind of put themselves at risk up front and say, hey, we're going to operate honestly, because they know that they can get slashed with what they've staked if they're found fraudulent. Security emerges from financial commitment. Rewards for honest behavior. Validators receive rewards for producing blocks and maintaining the network operation. That would be honest behavior. It's what the network expects out of the validator. These rewards make honest participation profitable. So what is their incentive to do something shady? They don't really have one. That is what I'm telling you is genius about blockchain technology. Profit motivates compliance. Penalties for dishonest behavior, right? Networks implement penalties such as slashing or loss of rewards if validators attempt malicious attacks like double signing or censoring transaction. Dishonesty becomes expensive, right? They hit you in the wallet, the language that is universal. So game theory in blockchain security, right? This is the idea. Participants act rationally to maximize economic outcomes. Systems are designed so that the honest behavior produces greater rewards than attacks would. Game theory stabilizes the system. Distributed enforcement. I'll send you the link on messages. Okay, they're probably talking about some Flare stuff. Blues Guy always coming with the Flare. Shout out to Blues Guy. For anybody who doesn't know, Blues Guy has his own YouTube channel as well. I encourage it. I don't have no problem with it, and I love to shout out people who are working hard, just as I've got a lot of viewers from The Lifer who shouted me out on his stream where there are thousands of people there. And so Blues Guy, I don't have like your link in the description or anything like that, but feel free to post the link to your YouTube. And you're going to want to watch him if you like XRP Flare ecosystem type content, because that is really what he specializes in. All right, let's get back to our notes here. So distributed enforcement. So we're going to talk about enforcement. Nodes independently verify blocks and transaction. Invalid actions are rejected by the network. Participants collectively enforce the rule. Cost of attacks. Attacking a blockchain often requires controlling a large portion of the network's resources or stake. Acquiring this control is extremely expensive. Economic costs protect the network, right? Think restaking on the Ethereum network or on any network. That is why restaking works so effectively in a proof of stake consensus. Now, I don't want to get over your heads here. We'll talk about restaking another time. Long-term alignment. Participants who hold tokens benefit from the network's success. Damaging the network reduces the value of their holdings, right? They're hurting themselves at that point. Self-interest encourages protection. Absolutely genius. So to wrap it all up, in conclusion, as you might have said on your essay you were writing in the 5th grade, core insights. Crypto networks stay honest because the system makes honesty economically rational. Very simple concept to wrap your head around, but very, very effective. All right, where do we want to go from here? Let's hop back over to our trade. It's given that little bit of a, pump up that it had there on the 5-minute chart. It's giving it right back. And so we're back to being up $8. But don't see, for me, I'm not paying attention to the money. I'm paying attention to the percentage. I'm up 81%. This is kind of the capstone, right? This is the last episode in the series on a Saturday night. I think it's a good one to catch because it really is about taking everything we've gone over for the week and reinforcing it again to really make sure that you got it. We used to just do the talking points, if you're familiar with my show, and then we added this story aspect to it. Why? Because I feel like a story angle or a story narrative helps people wrap their head around what we're talking about before we get to just straight up talking points, right? All right, so a short story about why blockchain or blockchains stay honest. At first glance, a decentralized system seems fragile. If no central authority controls the network, then what prevents participants from cheating? Good question. What stops someone from rewriting a transaction or manipulating the system for their own benefit? Think MEV attacks, maximal extractable value. We'll get to that later. The answer lies in incentives, and this is really powerful if you can understand it simply. In traditional institutions, trust is placed in the organization itself. A bank, a government, or a corporation maintains systems because they are trusted to do so. Why do you trust your bank, right? You trust that they have the money under lock and key. The ledger of transaction is, they have it. It's not like everybody can see it, right? It's not transparent, but you believe that they have a list of transactions and the ability to change them to do what is right. So blockchains take a different approach, right? They're not the centralized approach to governance. Instead of trusting participants, they design incentives that make honest behavior the most profitable strategy. In a way, you could say this is pretty genius, right? If you want people to do what's good instead of what's bad, then incentivize them to do what's good and give little to no incentive to do what's bad in a system is what we're talking about. We're not talking about hackers and all that, and phishing and all that kind of stuff. So validators commit resources or stake capital to participate in maintaining the network. Their financial interest becomes tied to the system's integrity. When validators... Hold on one second. My brother's calling me. Yo, what's up, bro? I'm live. Yeah, you gonna be around in like an hour? Alright, I'll hit you up. You won't answer, no big deal. Alright, bro. Not a lot of people I would answer my phone for in the middle of the IQ raising event here, or our IQ story, crypto story, but my brother I definitely got to. Alright, so when validators follow the rules, they earn money. That's a great incentive, right? It's what everybody's after. These rewards come from block production and transaction fees. The network compensates them for contributing security and coordination. But if validators attempt dishonest behavior, the system penalizes them, right? Because the system can see them. In proof of stake systems, right? Because that's what we would call consensus, a proof of stake, a proof of work, proof of liquidity, proof of useful liquidity, and it gets even more abstract from there. There's all kinds of different ways to run a network. What is consensus? It is the agreed upon way in which a network or blockchain is run, right? And it's usually there from conception, although things like Ethereum change from proof of work to proof of stake over time, so it can happen. In a proof of stake system, malicious actions can lead to slashing. The loss of the very capital validators locked in the system. So if you're a validator, you're making money, right? You're being incentivized and you do something really shady. And they just say, okay, well, in order to be a part of this, you had to lock up whatever it is, 100,000 tokens. We're just going to keep them. That's your penalty for being a bad actor and hurting the trust of our network. We reserve the right to just take your money. There's a lot of arguments around that, but essentially, that's what you signed up for when you locked and became a validator. So now, what are the odds that a validator who put a lot of money to be there is going to do something distasteful? Probably not. Now, this creates a powerful deterrent. Attempting to attack the network risks destroying the attacker's own financial positions. Most people not willing to do that. Game theory shapes behavior. Rational participants choose actions that maximize their expected outcome. If the system is designed correctly, honesty produces greater rewards than dishonesty. The network does not depend on trust in individuals. It depends on incentives that align individuals' profit with collective security. Blockchain remains secure not because participants are altruistic, but because the system makes honesty the most rational choice. And I think there is a level of genius behind that type of regulating and governance that I think is a little bit lost on people because they've never gone deep enough into the sauce of how this stuff actually works, and yet they put their money in it. Don't you think that's a little weird? I would want to know what I'm putting my money into and how it works and why I believe it would be around for the long run or for whatever amount of time that I would be holding it. All right.